Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar today. Uh, we will start in a couple of minutes just to give other registration and other people registered to join us. So, a couple of minutes and we will start our webinar. Thank you for waiting. Great. I think we can start our webinar for today. Others can join us during the webinar. We are kicking off our webinar today to talk about breaking silos, AI-powered integrated GRC. So basically, just to give you a small background about us as Governance Dynamics and Diligent, we are collaborating to bring you this webinar. So Governance Dynamics is a boutique private company specialized in governance, risk management, compliance, forensic investigation, and other consulting services, mainly also related to internal audit and ESG. It's a fit-for-purpose solution for training and consultancy. We are the authorized training partner for OSEG, who delivers GRCP, GRCA certificates, which is globally recognized internationally. And also, we are partners with PECB to deliver all the ISO suites of training. And we deliver also a NASBA certification and CPE for our training programs. Governance Dynamics, as mentioned, is a specialized training and consultancy company. It's operating in UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, but also in the MENA region and overall GCC. Okay. Diligent is a global leader in modern governance, providing a unified platform that integrates GRC, uh, sorry, audit and ESG. This is a solution that is trusted by millions of users, board members, I'm sorry, and organizations. Diligent offers also integrated AI-powered solutions that gives leaders a real-time insight. Uh, sorry, automated compliance and tools for decision-making, enabling organization to anticipate risks and build resilience. Diligent is a recognized leader in GRC software, delivering secure and innovative platforms for modern governance. I'm sorry, I'm a bit sick today, so excuse me if I'm coughing. I'm really honored to moderate this session today. In the next 45 minutes, we're going to explore the topic that is basically, as mentioned, related to GRC and using AI as a tool to optimize and to get more impact and results through this process. It's essential for organizations that want to lead rather than follow or lag in an increasingly complex, regulated, and fast-changing world. Let's be honest, many organizations are still struggling with siloed GRC, fragmented governance, risk, and compliance processes. Risk teams work in their own or on their own data environment with their own teams. Compliance functions maintain separate tracking systems and not up to date on a regular basis. Internal audit gathers insights on its own based on their schedule. So the result is really a patchwork of valuable but very disconnected information, slow to compile, not really up to date or aligned, hard to analyze, and often outdated by the time it reaches the level of decision making or the level of the decision makers. However, today, with technological solution and with the changing business environment, the pace of regulatory change, cyber threats, ESG requirements, cybersecurity requirements, operational risks that are integrated within all these changes needs a really real-time visibility, real-time decision-making, real-time oversight, and follow-up of all the internal and external changes that are taking place. This is where artificial intelligence comes in, not as really a buzzword as we are all using it on daily basis, but as a multiplier force, as an element, as a factor that will enable us to maximize the potential of our data, of our information, of our teamwork, of the communication process and decision-making process. So AI has the potential to break down long-standing silos, okay, between the different departments and functions. It can merge data sources, uncover patterns that were invisible to our human eye before, and provide us with the predictive insights that allow leaders to act before the risk takes place or make our organization ready to face these risks and to mitigate them. It can transform GRC from a reactive process into a proactive process, making it an intelligent, and innovative system that will enhance our decision-making process, strengthen the governance framework, and puts in place resilience into our DNA as teamwork, as processes, and as operations. Over the next minutes also, we will go through really what this means into our daily work, daily responsibilities. We will try to discuss all the barriers that will limit the implementation of AI within our processes. What are the data quality requirements, the cultural shifts and cultural also requirements needed for that, and what is the roadmap that we can suggest or we can at a high level design for this integration. This session is very useful for board members, senior executive, practitioners of risk management, compliance, internal audit, and other. And we will be very happy if we can give you actionable real-world insights that you can later on take to your daily work and responsibilities. With us today to explore these questions, I'm happy to introduce Mr. Patrick Haig. He is a GRC Enterprise Solutions Sales Executive at Diligent, who has been at the forefront of deploying integrated GRC platforms that leverage AI for measurable results. And also, very happy to have Dr. Hassan Khayal with us. He's Chief Internal Auditor at the Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence, whose work sits at the intersection of governance, innovation, and cutting-edge AI research and innovation. So together we will try to bring you a powerful mix of technical understanding, implementation experience, and strategic foresight and insights. So please make sure to be ready to put your questions in the QA section of the Teams. In front of you, you have a QA section where you can put all your questions. At the end, we will give you like 20-25 minutes for to answer all your questions. And you will see also in the chat a link that our friend Bilal shared at the end of the webinar. Please, if you can, make sure to answer the assessment of this webinar. Finally, kindly make sure to follow us over LinkedIn, Diligent, Governance Dynamics, and me and our dear presenters. So without overdue, we will switch to the questions now, and I will start with Patrick. Patrick, in today's complex business environment, data silos across risk compliance, as we mentioned in the introduction, and audit functions limit the visibility and makes decision-making very slow. So AI offers a way to unify these streams into one integrated GRC platform. How can we leverage really AI to break data silos across these functions, risk compliance, audit, in an integrated GRC platform?
Yes, first of all, thank you for having me, and thank you everyone for attending. Yeah, that's better. I think we were stuck on the same slide. Yeah, so how do we leverage AI? So the way we go about it and think about it in Diligent is that is the glue. AI is the glue that ties together all the information across the different functions of audit, risk, and compliance, basically. But what I would like to do with the audience is just sort of take through the step-by-step process, because most of the customers that we speak with actually operate in spreadsheets. So it's a bit of a step to go from spreadsheets to operating AI, basically. So what we see, of course, the challenges with working in spreadsheets in each function is duplication of work, duplications of risk, access control, and a lot of time spent on generating reports, basically. So that's sort of the first step. And then we say, let's buy a GRC tool to operate these things. But you can acquire a GRC tool and still operate in silos. And then the challenge is that you didn't really do a massive difference. You're still going to do duplicate work across risks, across compliance, and your dashboards will be fragmented. It won't be complete. So you didn't really benefit. but maybe the tool, such as Diligent, does offer you to collaborate and cooperate across the different functions. If I just stick to the sort of side approach with an GRC tool, I see it as an orchestra. You split them into 3 groups. You have one group playing the trumpet, another group playing the flute, maybe you have violinists in the third. They're playing the same piece, but it doesn't sound as great as they all play together in harmony. And that's the way I view an integrated GRC platform. The harmony comes as the board and management listens to the music, which in this case is the result of all these different functions working together. So once we reach that stage where we collaborate and data is transparent where applicable, I know sometimes audit, of course, has a certain way of operating. That doesn't mean that they should share everything with the rest of the other functions. However, you can then report real time to your board or your management, and there's a standardized way of acquiring this information. Now, how we leverage AI on top of all of this is really the icing on the cake and what I call, excuse me, the glue. So here you can then start generating predictive, prescriptive, and generative AI to really help benefit to see what's around the corner and basically create efficiency and productivity. And one last thing I just wanted to say is that AI also is, in our view, there to amplify the risk function, the audit function, and the compliance function, and not to remove them, let's say, with time. So yeah, that's how AI helps. It's icing on the cake to bring together this different data and to analyzing a lot of different data sets and then providing insights for the board for different functions. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. Dr. Hassan, as a follow-up on what Patrick just mentioned, and since I know that you've actually built a model dedicated for internal audit and led a full digital transformation of internal audit function, how can you, based on your experience, how can AI tools originally designed for audit to be extended to support risk compliance and teams? And do you find those functions are generally receptive to collaborating with audit when it comes to sharing AI-driven insights?
Okay, that's an excellent question. First of all, thank you for having us. Thank you for bringing this all together along with the attendees. So that's a good question. And first of all, for the GPT model, it's publicly available, like a very basic version, but an AI that's dedicated to internal audit. So that's something that you can find online if you just look it up, or you can reach out and just ask for the link. With that in mind, and seeing firsthand the evolution of internal audit from going through, as Patrick mentioned, like Excel sheets to getting it systemized. And a lot of audit departments are still in the phase where they are getting systemized to starting with actual digital transformation with automation and integrating AI into it. And something I want to emphasize, as much as we would like to just skip steps unless you've gone through the process. So number one, you're manual, you go to being systemized, you go to being automated, you go to having AI integrated into your capabilities. It's really difficult to skip steps as the maturity of the organization, the maturity of the entity, even the availability of the data and how it's organized is essential. So you really do need to go through them step by step. Including the development of AI tools, having them purpose-built for internal audit. With this in mind, going back to the main topic, which is the integration. The reality is that many of the capabilities we built for internal audit, such as anomaly detection, such as transactional pattern analysis, automated control testing, any predictive risk modeling is something that we like to get into an internal audit. All of those have a direct high impact applicability over the tasks and activities that risk and compliance engage in. So for example, for risk management, AI models can easily assess the effectiveness of internal controls. They can easily be adapted to even monitor the key risk indicators in almost real time. And with the use of, I want to say, basic technologies such as API plugins in almost perfect near time, AI tools can flag emerging threats. They can detect changes in data patterns. So for risk management, these same tools that internal audit is using are a very powerful ally. And similar to that in compliance, and I want to say not to downplay the role of compliance, but it's even much easier to get the tools that automate regulatory control, that regulate the compliance monitoring, as they would have a less wide area to cover and a more specific scope. So these tools can be easily repurposed to monitor compliance, whether that's with broader policy requirements, whether that's with regulatory requirements, such as data privacy, ESG disclosures, even procurement rules, whether you're in the private sector or the public sector. And this is something that natural language processing (NLP) models can easily help you with. So these tools can be easily repurposed across the board. Now, the real question are all these functions that sit across the different lines on the three lines model willing to work together? I'll say the core of the answer, the simplest answer is it depends on organizational culture, whether the organization is mature enough in order to accommodate that, in order to operate as strategic partners for the second line and third line to cooperate together. And here we would see strong interest from risk compliance and audit functions to co-develop and even co-govern those AI tools. While if the environment was more siloed, there would be reluctance as who owns the data, how are we sharing the data, uh, because of a continuous misunderstanding of the audit role, of how are we supporting each other. In those cases, it's crucial for the leadership of the different functions to position themselves not just as an evaluator, but as a value enabler, as a partner of management who would really go out of their way in order to support the management in achieving their functions.
I
And in
think I
summary,
think this Yeah, I think this brings me to the second question I wanted to ask. Thank you, Dr. Hassan. But it was also for you, Dr. Hassan, the question. So basically, we all know that introducing a new technology or a new policy or a new strategy and changing the business as usual framework will face always obstacles, barriers somehow. And so, what are, based on your experience, the biggest barriers that implementing an AI integrated GRC system across all these functions we would likely see, and how can we overcome these?
Perfect. I would say for this, again, I circle back. The biggest barrier to implementing AI or the biggest barrier to collaboration in GRC is culture. It's definitely not technology. The technology is there. It's been there for a long time, even through legacy audit management systems. They've always been encouraged for all the different stakeholders to use them. And while we often talk about data quality or the model governance, which are real challenges, I'm not discounting these at all, but these are extremely minor challenges when we compare them with the human challenge of the culture. The underlying root is cultural resistance. There are deeply embedded mindsets that govern how people perceive risk, trust automation, share control, and perceive each other within the organization. So to unpack this through a couple of steps, number one, it's the fear of losing control or the fear of losing relevance. Many governance, risk, and compliance, many GRC professionals build their credibility on expertise, on their judgment, on their deep institutional knowledge. I've been in this organization for so long and I know it so well. Introducing AI feels like it threatens that. When we are automating those decisions, which were traditionally human, the cultural response would be, I can't see how it works. It's a funny comparison, but when Uber first came out, traditional taxi drivers were mocking it, saying, well, can Uber tell you when will you arrive at that destination? Can Uber help you choose the most efficient route to avoid the traffic? Can Uber tell you from the beginning of the ride how much are you gonna pay for this ride? So because we are experienced in this, because we've been doing it for so many years, we cannot imagine that an AI tool or a technology tool can replace the human element or our human experience. So number one is the fear of losing control or relevance. Number two is the siloed thinking. And again, all of them have culture at their root. GRC functions often operate in organizational silos, whether that's audit, risk, and compliance. I'd say I see more collaboration between risk and compliance because they sit together on the second line. But for audit, it's usually on the third line, it's usually alone. So the collaboration is less there. Uh, and each one of them as well, they have their own language, they have their own tools, they have their own data. So each one of them has their own different purpose that they want to achieve. Uh, with this in mind, AI thrives in connected ecosystems. AI, when we are sharing the data, when we are talking to each other, AI has more data to feed on. Data is the bread and butter of AI. The more data you give it, the more accurate and the stronger it gets. But with a traditional GRC culture that might be a bit more territorial or resistant to data sharing or joint innovation, that might be challenging. And the last item, I would say, which is very typical and ironic, risk professionals, audit professionals, compliance professionals, they are usually on the risk averse side. And I want to say this is something I blame culture on as well. So here we would see risk aversions masked as prudence. Like, ironically, those teams can become the biggest blockers of innovation because they're citing regulatory concerns, because they're citing risk awareness or managing those risks. So it's often a cultural tendency towards perfection rather than progress. I've been working on pen and paper my entire life. I know I can do a perfect process on pen and paper. I would rather continue doing it rather than have a process that is less than perfect, that is less than perfect, where that's less than perfect, where I'm utilizing AI and such, even though a less than perfect process utilizing not even AI, just technology, running at 50, 60% of its complete efficiency has the potential to be astronomically more efficient than a manual process. So yes, that's basically, you were asking about the barriers.
Yeah.
This was a long-winded answer, but the summary is
Thank you.
it's culture and people.
Thank you, Dr. Hassan. So just to build on what you were just mentioning, I think AI will centralize data, and maybe Patrick can confirm this later on, but it will centralize data at one place. It won't be split between different departments. It will enhance collaboration across different functions and teams. It will automate the communication and the visibility of the data and of the information. And ahead of time, we will be able to identify overlaps or gaps of conflicts within data or understanding of information, and also not to personalize knowledge or to keep it for us, and not to share it, you know. So this will generate more shared and common knowledge and information for everyone. But I want to build on that, asking Patrick, if possible, how can really organization at an infrastructure level and design level ensure that data quality and context when feeding risks, compliance, and audit data into AI engines are done properly and will generate the best possible, the optimal results required?
Yes, thank you for that. To be honest, I don't look at it very different from before AI when we're just looking at GRC tools. So in my experience, you see customers bring like a risk register of, I don't know, thousands of risks. Some of them are 10 years old. They haven't done anything on it for ages. So I think it's the classic data classification. Just look at the data hygiene of what you actually want to feed into the AI engine. Where I would say you should start, funny enough, being focusing a lot on risk is a risk assessment of why are we acquiring an AI tool in the first place and what we're looking to achieve with it. And then, yeah, the data classification is key to understand what sort of data do we have to process. Is it, for example, regulated data? Is it public data? Is it sensitive? And what guardrails are we looking to apply to that data as well? The idea behind this data classification is to know when AI gives you a conclusion on something, that you don't have the black box issue, which is you don't really know how it arrived to this conclusion, but we just hope that it's okay because AI gave it to us. So by understanding the data that we're feeding it by classification, we should be able to understand how we derive to the conclusion that AI basically brought to us. That's one of the ways, I would say one of the steps. Another thing is also to look at maintaining human control. We're going to touch on this a few times today because also, as Hassan mentioned, humans are still going to be in the picture for quite a while still in terms of working with AI. So I look at AI as the partner, as a support for our functions, but there's still a long way for it to replace us, especially in the GRC functions. So my point there is to say that we need human control points that you can build into a process or workflow, however you want to do it, where you say, okay, when we reached a certain point by maybe a risk assessment that's been sent out and, the AI engine has sent out a risk assessment and gathered the data for you, we still need to look at the accuracy of this information. We can't just blindly trust that it's great because AI brought it to us. And that avoids the over-reliance on AI and just say, yeah, well, that's good. Let's go with it. So that's, I guess, another step. And then I think also it's to standardize the data collection across the functions. This is true for AI, but in honesty, it's like true for just collaborating and breaking down the silos. Like if we're all talking different languages, if let's say audit finds a deficient control and they call it, it's within the IT general controls audit. Compliance is saying we have a deficient control for ISO 27001, and the risk function is saying we have a cybersecurity risk that is high. I think you can get like that doesn't really go well together, and you won't really be able. AI won't pick up the information there. It won't understand the taxonomy because it's not aligned. It's not standardized. So that's another thing that I think we need to look at. It also benefits you apart from AI. It just helps you across those different functions to speak the same language. But that also creates the context that AI needs to make sense of it. Otherwise, it won't pick it up. Another step is then data lineage and context. So as Hassan mentioned, we do rely on databases. The bigger, the better. Basically, the more data, the better. But we still need to understand, like, why, for example, was the risk rated high within a particular place? Who signed off a particular control? What framework does a compliance obligation belong to? You need to embed metadata, audit trails, and linkages to the dataset that makes AI recommendations explainable and auditable. So it's still about trust, right? So it's about the trustworthiness of the information. And I guess the final point from my perspective on this one is continuous monitoring and feedback loops. So data quality is not a one and done. It's like a lot of other things within our field, right? You don't just send out a risk assessment and then leave it there for 10 years. So it's about continuously looking at the data, making sure it's accurate and up to date. So you validate basically that, for example, there's no duplication, there are no missing fields, there's no misclassification as well. So we still have, again, the humans giving feedback and the data set basically. And that basically turns AI into a living system, improving accuracy and reliability with every cycle, while we include humans as part of this process. So that's how I would say we ensure data quality and context when feeding risk into the data AI engines, basically.
Thank you, Patrick. I think next question is for both of you. Yani, to please feel free to answer it. But AI is really transforming GRC maybe from a reactive to a proactive mode of functioning. Yani, going beyond automation, we are going into predictive, into generative, prescriptive capabilities. The key question is where should the GRC team start? You need to capture this quick wins and think about the roadmap for AI in GRC platforms like the one, for example, Diligent is providing or others. Are we looking at a predictive, generative, or prescriptive capabilities? What are the some quick wins we can ensure to start integrating AI in our GRC processes? Where should we start in a nutshell?
You are going to first, Hassan?
Sure thing, yes. So I'll say we're at a really exciting area. I want to say we're lucky to be born at this point of time where AI and such is becoming a big deal, and we are at a change in history. And to apply it to our profession, to governance, risk, and compliance. And there are platforms like Diligent. I'll let Patrick delve into the details of that. But all those platforms are evolving what an audit management system is, from a record to becoming a system of intelligence to becoming a collaborator with you. And the roadmap to that is developing, as we've mentioned. I want to say the most basic ones are predictive, which is most of what we have now, which are platforms that are already integrating machine learning to forecast the risk trends. They predict control failures or they flag anomalies, such as predicting the likelihood of one of your vendors failing because they have too many historical incidents or such. The next step would be generative with emerging with emerging tools. And this is where we see models like ChatGPT. ChatGPT is an example of generative AI, and many such tools are appearing. And this can help us draft policies, verify our compliance with these policies. And we can expect much deeper integration of such tools in the upcoming period. And finally, I want to say what we're hoping to reach is prescriptive tools. And this is a future state. I don't believe anyone is there yet, where AI doesn't just detect or describe, but it even recommends optimal actions that we haven't come up with yet. So it can actually recommend new ideas to us. With this in mind, the important part and what I know most listeners want to listen to is quick wins. How can we get quick wins to quickly integrate these things to future-proof our area in order to actually get buy-in? Some quick, low-friction entry points is number one, policy intelligence document review. So you can have AI, you can use generative AI depending on your organization policy, depending on how classified the document is, to summarize, compare, or classify policies and regulations. Again, just ChatGPT or using a similar model that you have in your organization, such as Copilot, is enough for that. And this would cut your review time by 50 to 70%, as it would catch all the small, silly things for you, and you can focus on the big ticket items. Another quick win is the risk and control mapping automation, just comparing the results from the different assurance providers, leveraging AI to map those risks to the associated controls or the controls to the associated frameworks or references. And finally, I want to say as a quick win, just get AI to generate your reports. Report writing is a very low value addition task that we are very busy with. The core of our work is with the field work, is with actually testing or doing risk assessments, and that's just how we communicate our results. If you're able to feed AI with your actual work, then it should be able to communicate it in a way that's applicable to everyone and everyone can understand it. With this in mind, I'll hand over to Patrick, as I want to say you'll get us a little bit more details on some tools you have handy.
Yes, absolutely. I agree with a lot of the recommendations for quick wins, but just to take a few steps back and talk about what Diligent is doing from this perspective. If I break it down, predictive AI, what we're doing currently is flagging anomalies in the enterprise risk dashboard, basically. Apart from that, it's monitoring regulatory compliance as well. So having notifications and tracking of regulatory news and changes, but also detecting emerging risks. And from a prescriptive perspective, it's identifying duplicate controls across risk, compliance, audit, and suggest one standardized test. So that's where we're at from a prescriptive perspective. And generative, we have an interesting offering that I don't know if everybody's familiar with, but it's for boards. And we actually got really far with the generative capabilities there. So it's not so much on the risk and compliance or audit side of things. It's more on compiling reports and information for the board. So when they go into a meeting, they already have all the actions that they need, summaries from the previous meeting, and basically everything is ready within a few minutes, when usually customers you spend like weeks to prepare these board meeting material. This is generated, but still with human insight, right? So there's still humans who, human control points, like I mentioned earlier, that make sure that the content is accurate and to the point. Now, what I think is interesting, just to add on top of these three things, is agentic AI, because that's what's next for the industry. I'm a little bit ahead of myself, but it's still very interesting, because what that means is the system will not only suggest the actions you have to take, it will execute them on your behalf within, of course, guide rails that you said. But I find that very interesting, and I don't think it's that far out. Yeah, I'm quite excited about that, to be honest. I guess from a quick win, Hassan has spoken about this a bit earlier, and I think that's very important to stress, even from a software provider perspective. But don't aim for a big bang to begin with. Like, start small. And the place I would start personally is, if I was any of the functions, would be within controls. Hassan spoke briefly about controls to frameworks, but I would go a step further and say risk function is implementing a control to mitigate a risk. Compliance function is testing a control to collect evidence for regulatory purposes, for example. And audit obviously is providing assurance and confidence to the board. So they're also testing controls. So that's where I would start, because you can avoid, of course, the duplication is something we already spoke about, but more so it's just be more cohesive in how you approach it and concise, I would say. So you won't spend so much time doing the same job across different functions. And AI can map controls based on, again, regulations, risks, audits. We already have that. And you can even go a step further and compare changes to one regulation to another as well, and the controls that you need to implement. So I guess the last piece I just want to mention on this is that a lot of different vendors will have different things that they do, and they will be in different maturity states, of course, in terms of AI within their tools. So I just thought that's important to mention, because it is quite various across the industry and where everyone is. I think from Diligent, we're taking a very, no pun intended, but a very diligent approach, where we're not going all in on AI yet. Or we are, but I would say we do a lot of consideration of how we go about it, because it's a long-term view. It's not about just saying we're doing AI for this and that and just going crazy. We're actually thinking a lot about which impact it's going to have, but also the ethics behind it, which is very key. So that's something we stand by.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Thank you, Patrick. Very insightful, and thank you, Dr. Hassan. We were talking about technology, but we know it's not enough for sure, 100%. And the successful integration of AI or any GRC solution, it will depend on the people, on the culture, as we mentioned before. And so I think we will be in need for a quite advanced training plan, or up-to-date training plan to work on the skills, on the competencies, on the communication, and on the collaboration, on the teamwork skills, on the cultural shifts that are required. Yani. So we need to cover several topics. So uh, what can you tell us about the training requirements, Patrick, to have a successful AI integration?
So again, I'm going to draw some parallels to just the world of GRC in general, because it's not really that different. I think Hassan will echo this. It's the same challenge you will face. It's the culture of an organization. I think where I would start from, if we were talking about AI specifically, is to find the evangelists. So the people that are always excited about something new, the people who spend their
Cheerleaders.
yeah, exactly, cheerleaders. or champions, whatever you want to call them. But those who are excited about it and want to spend their spare time looking into it. In Diligent, to be honest, we already have people like that. They're very, very much into AI and how it helps in a lot of different areas. And you have some that are more hesitant, right? That's just the nature of the world, I would say. So that's first, identify evangelists. I think speaking about GRC, it's ideal if you could to identify them across the different functions and perhaps create a group. If you can do that, you're in a very good place, because then you have a group of people that will then collaborate on AI for the different purposes. And going back to the previous thing we talked about how you can leverage AI, you'll be more in sync, let's say. So that's identifying the champions, creating workshops or work groups, whatever you want to call them, to look at AI. Then I think it's about, again, this is also from the GRC world. It's the same approach we take to our customers. It's train the trainer approach, perhaps using evangelists. So the practical approach is that we train a group of people, could be the evangelist plus a few others, and they then go on to train a bigger group of people within the company. And that also allows for like a step-by-step process. Instead of training, I don't know, thousands of people at once, we start in small groups, create some success, and then expand it into the wider organization. But talking about culture, I think it's a very big topic, and it's multi-layered, I would say. So I think communication and objectives is key. And a word like motivation, what motivates the employees? Do they understand, like, if they think that AI is here to replace your job, you don't want to be trained. You don't really want to spend time on this, right? Because you're more hesitant. But if the explanation is, no, this is going to help you in your job, you're actually going to have more time to do more fun stuff, maybe the things that you like to do, less admin work, perhaps they're going to be a bit more lenient to listen in and do the training. So it's about the communication, I think, how it's presented to the employees or the business in general. And I think, just to give a quick example, we, like many organizations, talk finance, and the CFO will come on and talk about finance. Not everyone understands exactly what the CFO is doing and not the ins and outs of everything. But he explains it in a way they understand, okay, these are the numbers, this is what we want to achieve, and this is where we're going. So it's the communication. So even the people who don't have a master's degree in finance will still understand what he's saying. I think it's the same in this context, in the way you communicate it to the employees, and don't maybe talk extremely technical. And then again, the objectives. If the objective is to improve the organization, I think most people will stand behind that, right? If it's to create efficiencies, we can say we're going to make X amount of profit if we can create this increase in productivity. It's also a different conversation, and people, I mean, most of the time would stand behind that because they want hopefully the organization to do well when they work there. I think another one is robust onboarding and continuous support. So again, you can talk about AI and GRC, it's the same thing. From this perspective, it's not just a set it and forget it. You need continuous support to optimize, and also as you mature implementing AI, you need to have different training at different stages. So what we do typically is like a roadmap. So you have like where we start, the first things that we focus on, and then over time we can then look at different things that you want to do in the future. Another thing is that, of course, organizations also, they change over time. So as I said, there are a lot of elements to this. If they change over time, they might need a different kind of training in 2 years than they do today. So that's another perspective. And of course, a key thing also is like AI ethics and responsible use. The employees know how to use it. The proper way, is it trained? Do we have courses like we do with code of conduct and anti-harassment training, all the stuff we're all used to? Do we also have that for AI applicable? Do we have policies in place as well? All that good stuff, I think, is also very key. I have a few other points, but I think I could keep talking for quite a while, so I think I'll
Yeah,
pass it over to
yeah.
Hassan to also give his perspective.
I think we are spilling out of the time, and
Mm.
I think we have like less than 10 minutes in front of
Okay.
us. So I have a couple of questions to Dr. Hassan, specifically towards internal audit. So, now integrating AI within the GRC framework and using it as part of, to as a multiplier or as a booster for this framework. Uh, uh, This makes, sometimes oversight and independence blurry, يعني unclear. How can internal audit maintain its independence, objectivity, assurance role, while still being proactive driver for AI and GRC integration? So, how can we ensure that our principles and our fundamentals are being properly installed?
Okay, I love this question because it's a regular cause for heated debate. And I want to start with, I want to say a disclaimer or basically establishing the lines. Uh, a lot of audit functions, or I don't want to say a lot, but there are some audit functions that use independence as an excuse not to actually participate in the business or the organization they are a part of. It's true that independence is important. I am by no means whatsoever discounting its importance, but it should not be used as an excuse. Rather, it should be used for the purpose it's there. We're independent in order to maintain an objective outlook on the organization we are a part of. With that in mind, so if you are concerned about your independence because you're genuinely concerned about your objectivity, that's very valid. If the concern for independence is because, well, I'm lazy or I don't want to participate in management or this is scary or it might fail or I might have responsibility for it, then that is something to be evaluated. The tension between involvement and independence is definitely real, but it's nothing new. Internal audit has always walked a fine line between being a trusted advisor and being an independent assurance provider. And I want to say the best internal auditors and the most successful internal audit functions are the ones that are skilled at playing jump rope with that line. So the key to define our role with clarity, to maintain these transparent boundaries, to adhere to the globally accepted audit standards, is, I want to say, in three simple steps. Number one, similar to we have a three-line model. For an auditor, I like to say that as an auditor, you should have multiple hats or you should have three hats. Number one is your assurance or your audit hat. So you are doing your audit engagements. Number two, in the middle, oversight hat. So you are providing oversight. And number three, advisory hat. You are working with the management. Internal audit can contribute to those different levels without compromising their independence. It's just that you have to be clearly define the lines. So, for example, taking AI or implementation of AI initiatives, early in the AI initiatives, you can advise on risk controls, governance, the ethics before the model even goes live. You can be involved. As an assurance function, once it's operational, you can step back and you can start assessing the model risks. You were not involved in building the model, just the framework around it. So the model risk, the algorithmic biases, the data integrity involved, and the explainability as part of a formal audit engagement. When AI is generating results, we want them to be explainable. And for oversight, you can monitor the AI governance framework itself. You can ensure the roles, responsibilities, controls are in place. Uh, Number two, you want to establish clear guardrails and disclosures. So transparency is critical. In Arabic, we have a saying that roughly translates that if you walk a straight path, your enemy will not know what to do with you. Similar to that, I'll say if you're simply transparent and honest about what you're doing, then you are more likely than not protecting your independence. Protecting your independence. And if you see your independence as truly compromised, it's very easy to manage. You can reassign engagement, you can bring a service provider, you can even internally separate the teams if you have a big enough team. And finally, and this is the most, I want to say, advanced one, so it might be the most challenging for people, but leverage rotational models or co-assurance where for highly technical audits, you can have a guest auditor program. So in summary, to wrap it all up, internal audit's independence is preserved not by avoiding involvement. That's just, I want to say, a lazy excuse, but you need to define the parameters of your involvement responsibly.
Thank you. Uh, allow me to go directly to the final question for our webinar today. You have it's exciting. This is why I'm asking this question, and I know that you like to talk about it. So, what's the difference really by integrating GRC with AI and AI integrated GRC? So, from a framework perspective and putting it into action.
That's a good question. I'll answer half of it. I'll pass on the second half to Patrick. And the two phrases, though they are similar, integrating GRC with AI and having an AI integrated GRC. The first one, integrating GRC with AI, we're talking about a strategic vision. We're talking about having a roadmap. The phrase refers to a forward-looking strategy, and this is the big overall picture
As a
that we
goal.
want. Excuse me?
As a goal, an
As a
objective.
goal, this is the big roadmap that we want to have. This is the big forward-looking strategy. It would focus on the evolutionary benefits of having AI, on the rationale for adoption and such. While the second one, having AI integrated GRC, is about getting dirty with it. It's about the execution. It's about operationalizing your AI. So you would focus on specific use cases. You would focus on the model governance, on the ethics we spoke about, on in the role in your role in validating those tools. With this in mind, I know we are short on time. I hope that answer was sufficient, but I would like to ask Patrick, like the difference between the two, like, and I think as you go into implementation programs with clients, there would be a difference in understanding the client requirement. And I would say this is the strategic integrating GRC with AI, understanding the requirements, and in actually doing the system implementation where you would have AI integrated GRC. So how do you see the difference as well? I would say I answered it theoretically.
Yeah, no, I like that question. So from my perspective, from my side, the understanding phase is really about mapping the organization's current risk, compliance, and audit landscape and tailoring how AI can add value. And the implementation phase is then about bringing that vision into reality. So embedding AI into workflows and controls and reporting, so it becomes part of the day-to-day operations rather than just an idea. So that's how it's split the understanding phase, which happens during the initial conversation with a customer, like when I speak to them. So we document that whole conversation. That's the understanding phase. What does your organization look like? What's your maturity levels? What keeps you up at night, what matters to you, we haven't spoken about that today, but company objectives is something I spend a lot of time speaking to customers about. So what are your objectives? When we understand that, then when we move to an implementation phase, we can implement that vision over time and bring it to reality.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Hassan. Thank you, Patrick. Truly, the discussion is so rich and enriching, and we can never get tired of all these concepts. And because it's the discussion of the day, we are all talking about how we can maximize the use of AI in our work, in our daily activity, in how enhance our productivity and the effectiveness of our work. So, yeah, but time is limited, and we need to shift to the questions in the Q&A. So sorry if we are running late. I will start from Brahim Anafal. How do you see opportunities of integration in context where Microsoft Copilot is deployed and the audit management system is in use, has AI capabilities integrated? So I think this is more for Dr. Hassan to answer.
So great question. I'll say, first of all, if you have Copilot running and such, and you already have an audit management system, I'll ignore the fact that the audit management system has AI in it to begin with. If you can develop APIs with your existing AI capabilities in order to perform certain tasks repeatedly, and you can plug those APIs into your audit management system, this would be fantastic, especially if you are genuinely fully using the capabilities of your audit management system, such as conducting your risk assessment on it, preparing your audit plan, conducting the audit fieldwork, doing the follow-ups. This has massive potential in terms of connecting your AI agents to it. They could be doing automated, for example, for follow-ups, examples of seen implemented. You would have conducted your audit testing during the field work. So for follow-ups, you would need to perform the same test in a repeated pattern. So you can have AI agents connected to your audit management system that when you have your process owners submitting data to close action plans, the AI agents automatically do the testing that they learned about from your original audit in order to verify whether that issue is to be closed or not. And that's an example I've seen. So this is number one. Get as creative as you would like with your external AI tools and connect them to your audit management system with an API. And I want to say most audit management systems nowadays, if not all of them, will have API integration capabilities. Number two, with AI capabilities inside of the audit management system, I'll say they are still in infancy phases. So they are limited or there are not a lot of them. But then I would say, simply put, explore them. Make sure to abuse that customer service hours that you get from the audit management system service provider, whether it's 15, 20, 50 hours a year, and make sure they are teaching you about how to use the full capabilities of your audit management system AI features. Because I'll say one of the saddest thing I see, simply put, I'll even use the example of people with their cell phones. You did not read the user manual and you do not know the full features of your cell phone. Similar to that, make sure you know the full features of your audit management system. And even at a systemized level, before we talk about automation and before we talk about AI, they are ridiculously powerful.
As a follow-up from Brahim, I think the question is more for Patrick. So, what specific AI technology or tool do you think yields the most benefits in terms of productivity, efficiency in the context of internal auditing?
So I would say, I think it's a little, the AI technology itself, I would say, honestly, I'm not sure of, because I'm speaking more from a diligent perspective. But if we talk a little bit about how you get the wins, which is a different question, I would go back to what I mentioned earlier about if we want to look at productivity and efficiency, that we have, from an audit perspective, access to all the information from the risk and compliance function along with our own. So that's how I would look at that. So we say, okay, we have access to all the information from the other functions, and diligent from that perspective already has that today, right? So it's and then AI on top of that helps you map that information, controls to risk and controls to controls. So thereby you lower a lot of the
This,
admin work that's typically done. So that's
yeah,
how I would answer that. Yeah.
this aligns with Andrea's Smaha question. Well, if internal audit doesn't have full visibility into organization's data landscape, can we really talk about breaking silos? Or are we just building new AI-driven ones?
Yeah,
It's,
that's correct. I mean, I also think Hassan has a comment for this, but
yeah. What do you think, Dr. Hassan?
So that's definitely a very valid question. And it's not, we mentioned before the challenges with culture, but the challenge with culture and sharing data is not only with our second line partners, it's also with the business. And unfortunately, the mentality of I wanna limit what data I share with audit, or I want to only provide them with exactly the data they asked for. I'm not going to volunteer anything extra. And obviously, it's very scary for them when we ask for direct access to the system or direct access to data, as we can plug in our APIs again, as we can start our continuous audit practices. In short, I want to say, if internal audit lacks the full visibility into the organization landscape, we aren't truly breaking silos. It's not something that's possible. We go back to the root. It means there's a fundamental issue with the culture in the organization. We need to address the culture before we can address the technology. At the end of the day, no matter how advanced it is, AI at the end of the day is just technology. AI is just algorithms. It's just a regression model. It's just selecting what is the most mathematically probable solution. So we're not breaking silos. We're just redecorating the silos with an AI logo. So breaking down silos means promoting transparency. It means enabling holistic risk identification across the organization and ensuring we're consistent, accurate, and we share and use the data. So go back, fix the human element, I want to say, which is the culture, the interactions, the relationships. And once that's fixed, then you can start talking about the AI or data implementation or the integration or such. And it sounds silly and it kind of comes in reverse, but until you get the little things right, you're never going to get the big things right. And the relationships are the little things. They're the ones that are invisible. They're not really tangible. But until you get these things right, you can't really get anything else right.
Yeah, yeah. I think this comes in line also with Jana's question. Did combined assurance not address the integration of risk compliance and audit, and why did it fail? Is it only a cultural and AI will be able to address or facilitate this?
If I can add to just both those questions, I think from my perspective, also a little bit to Hassan's point, if you look at it from a technological perspective, our customers would have to deliberately tell us we don't want, from a risk perspective or compliance function, we don't want our controls to be available when we perform an audit. So to Hassan's point, it has to be a human problem. And they say we don't want our data to be shared with the audit function. To be honest, I don't see that happening a lot. But of course, if you don't share your data, we're still operating in silos, and the whole thing kind of falls apart, right? It doesn't really make sense because the argument isn't there yet. Why to spend money and break down silos by keeping them separate still in a tool? So I don't know. Maybe Hassan, you can take why did combined assurance fail? But I think from a product perspective, I just think if people want to collaborate, they can, and the tool out of the box kind of does that. But if you deliberately don't want to collaborate, then it's your choice, right? Like you say, we don't want to to share information.
I'll say I 100% agree with you. What I'm gonna add, and here I'll help people who are studying for their IT audit certifications or anything related to IT audit. A question you will regularly get is why do system implementations fail? And there, like academically, there are two reasons why 99% of all failures occur. Number one, it's because data migration failed. Okay, that's technical. You were unable to migrate your data from your legacy system to your new system. And I want to say that's limited. And I would blame the service provider, like the data migration should be something they would be able to manage. Number two, most of the time, user acceptance. You just couldn't get the users to agree to transfer to the new process or to agree to fully, wholeheartedly accept the new system. And unless the people on the ground, we're talking about the lower level people who are on the ground using the system day to day and such, unless they are truly embracing the new system, the system will fail. Unless we have that user acceptance, the system will fail. So it's about having an approach that's inclusive for everyone to promote the acceptance and about having that true education. System implementations fail for those two reasons, data migration and user acceptance is the more popular one.
Thank you, Dr. Hassan, and thank you, Patrick, for your time and for your generosity answering all our questions. I think we can give the time for some live questions. If someone has like a question to by raising hands, let's say. Yeah, I have one question in the chat box, not in the QA. So, does AI replace internal auditors anytime in the future?
I don't think so. So I know it's a cliche, but you're definitely gonna get replaced by another internal auditor who's using AI. And I've seen so many internal auditors using AI to an amazing depth at
Amazing.
conferences,
I
sharing
totally agree.
experiences. But
Yeah,
no, AI is not replacing us anytime soon.
yeah, I totally agree. So thank you, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Hassan. Thank you, Patrick. Big thanks to Diligent also for working with us on this very important webinar. Kindly, I will remind you, please, to click on the evaluation form to evaluate the webinar and to follow us over LinkedIn. These are our emails. If you wanna send us any email, any question, any follow up, kindly feel free to do that and follow us over LinkedIn. Go to our websites, explore our services and publications. And thank you again for attending this webinar.
Thank you,
Have a
everyone.
nice day.
Thank you.
I also wanted to mention just quickly that you can watch a recap of this webinar as well as other webinars on our YouTube channel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Goodbye.